Welcome back. Today had a pull day. Started out with some pull-ups. Did a few sets on the lat pull-down machine. Did some bent over rows. Tried to keep the form pretty strict on those. Did some high pulls. What else did I do? I think I also did some face pulls and probably something else that I'm forgetting. But I'll chime in with the voiceover along the way as we watch through here. Try to keep my form on these pretty strict. I'm usually going from a full dead hang. I've never really been one to just be able to rep out a bunch of pull-ups. I don't know if it's just because I try to maintain that dead hang in between reps and I'm kind of losing some steam or what, but I've really never been able to rep out any more than 8 pull-ups at a time. Switched it up, went with a neutral grip on this set. For whatever reason, these tend to feel a little bit easier for me than the my standard pull-up grip. I do like to go a bit wider on the standard grip, so probably helps keeping my grip in a little bit tighter, keep everything more compact. Went over to the lat pull-down machine just to get a little bit more volume on that movement. Unfortunately, this bar is broken. You probably can't tell from the video, but where it's usually affixed in the middle, it can't slide side to side. The 2 weld points must have snapped off at some point, so it slides around if you don't maintain even pressure on both arms as you're pulling, and the thing will just kind of slide out of there. So I am going a little bit lighter, but wanted to just get some more volume in on these. Then I switched up that grip. I really like the way this feels, and this bar is sort of split nice, so I feel like I can kind of get it down right up onto my chest, which feels good, getting that full range of motion. Next, moved on to some bent over barbell rows. Really wanted to keep my form pretty strict on these, so you can see that I'm actually pretty much touching down with the plates on each rep, trying to keep my upper body as parallel to the ground as possible. Other thing that I like about keeping my form strict like this is I feel like I'm actually getting a little bit of core stability work in, as well as a little bit of like my stabilizers in my lower back sort of helping out on this as well. So I guess in a roundabout way, it's possibly inadvertently helping on my deadlift just using strict form like this. If you've noticed my shiny, bright white new shoes, they're pretty cool. They're by a brand called Flux Footwear. They're marketed as sort of like a barefoot shoe, so it's got a wider toe box. It's got a really, really pliable, pretty thin sole to it. So I really like them. I wore them on my leg day that I did yesterday, and I just wore them again for this workout, and they're really, really comfortable shoes, and they don't look goofy. I've seen some barefoot shoes that really just look kind of dumb, honestly. Like, I wouldn't want to be seen in public with them, but these are pretty, they just look like standard gym shoes. And the sole's cool, too. It's got, like, these little hexagonal pads on them, so it almost sort of, like, kneads your feet as you're walking around. It's like a little mini massage. It feels pretty good. Was up in the weight on these. I think my form sort of started slipping a little bit on this last set, but I wanted to get 225 on there just to get that moving around a little bit. Gio, quit it. It's my dog's first appearance in my voiceover. But yeah, you can see my chest starts coming up pretty good on these. Really was trying to keep it pretty much parallel, but with that weight, I can't help but kind of get my chest up a little bit as I'm pulling through. So on this last set, I threw on my fat grips and lightened up the weight a little bit. If any of you guys have ever heard of Eric Bugenhagen, he's done a few videos on these fat grips where he talks about kind of doing some burnouts, starting with the fat grips, then going to a regular grip, and even going on as far as putting straps on, just to burn it out as much as possible. So you can see I rack the weight. I'm taking off the fat grips, and then I'm going to take it right back out and try to keep going for as many more reps as possible. But it's a pretty effective way to work on your grip and your forearms while you're also getting in some pulling exercise. So it's you can see it's kind of kicking my ass. I think I barely get like one more rep. Yeah, you can see I'm barely even hanging onto that weight enough to rack it. All right, went into some face pulls. These, for whatever reason, I can't really figure out how I like to do these to feel it most effectively in my my rear delts. I found that if I actually come up a little bit higher and I almost keep my arms at like a 90-degree angle at the elbow is really when I feel it the most. But anyway, I feel like my calves are finally starting to come back, which is a plus. I always had pretty big calves growing up through high school and into college, just playing sports. Unfortunately, when I tore my ACL and I tore my meniscus twice, I had some pretty significant muscular imbalances, specifically in my calf and my quads, but it seems like my calves are kind of coming back. Moved on to some upright rows or high pulls, whatever you want to call them. I'm using a little bit of momentum. My aim here, obviously I'm working on my traps a little bit with these and my shoulders, but other thing I'm trying to get into is I want to start hang cleaning a little bit more frequently. That was something that I used to always do, and I felt like I really liked the explosiveness that I would get from it. I've been squatting and deadlifting pretty heavy, but the cleans aren't really something that I've worked into my programming just yet. But I would like to get those incorporated into my workouts a little bit more moving forward. Bumped up to 135 for my last set. My form started to get a little sloppy, but I do want to get comfortable, start handling this much weight, and I feel like if I'm able to high pull that, obviously cleaning's not going to be a problem. I actually threw in a few cleans after this set just to sort of get my feel back for it. It really has been a while, but I used to love doing hang cleans. Forgive me in advance for these reps. These look pretty gross, not gonna lie. Yeah, you can see I didn't even come close to getting my elbows through on that first rep. I get them through a little bit better on these next rep, but you can see that I'm just kind of rocking on my heels and on my toes, and it's just, they look pretty damn sloppy, so those need a lot of work, that's for certain. Finished up with some curls for the girls, as they say.
What girls?
That's the girl that just interrupted my voiceover.
Aww.
Yeah. Keeping these pretty slow and controlled. I like to do longer negatives on these. Next did preacher curl. I do these one arm preacher curls on the incline bench. I don't really feel it that well. My workout calls for a preacher curl machine, but we don't have one, so this is the closest I can get. Not my favorite. All right, this was the last workout. I finished out with some incline dumbbell curls, and I threw those fat grips on there just to get a little bit extra grip work in here at the tail end of the workout. So I think this was my last clip. So if you're still watching, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. That's all I got.